Hello guys, and in this video I'll be looking at the June 2012 economics paper unit 1, and I'll be telling you how to answer the 25 mark question. So the question reads, according to some commentators, the mining industry is well known for the damage it inflicts on the environment. Using the data and your own economic knowledge, evaluate the view that mining activities should be left to market forces with minimum intervention by governments. In every 25 mark question you do in AQA A-level economics, you should always write out and define key terms in the question in the first paragraph. So we're going to do this for this essay. The first thing I'd define in this essay would be the marginal social cost, because in the question it reads, according to some commentators, the mining industry is well known for the damage it inflicts on the environment. So by the damage it inflicts, it's a marginal social cost, so we're just going to describe that in our first paragraph. Secondly, I'd also define the market forces, because it also states this in the question, and market forces is where the effects of supply and demand dictate how the market works and functions. Now we've outlined the key terms in the question, we're going to start on the core of the essay and say why we should intervene on the mining industry, and that's going to be our first paragraph. So a reason for government intervention is because the effects of the mining industry creates negative externalities. Therefore, the marginal social cost is much higher than the marginal private cost. So if they reduce the level of mining, this will ultimately reduce the level of negative externalities and increase welfare, a key economic aim. A reason why government shouldn't intervene is because prices on the market is usually guided by the price mechanism, also known as the invisible hand. And this means that prices are guided to a low level through competition, and basically the consumer always gets a cheap price because he goes elsewhere for his good. So if the government start introducing taxes and subsidies, it's going to mess up the whole market mechanism. Now you've basically made your basic outline of your essay and you've done your for and against, you now need to do your two extracts, for and against, and quote them for each idea. To gain higher marks in your exam, you need to start analysing. So basically you explain and you say that this will lead to and as a result. So for example, in this essay we're talking about the effects of the mining activities. So if we reduce the level of mining activities, it could lead to unemployment and then therefore less taxes paid, less spent on the education, which ultimately is known as the negative multiplier effect. Typically in your answer you should be drawing about 1 to 2 diagrams. The first diagram I draw in this essay would be the negative externalities graph, which is shown on your video what you're watching now, and it basically shows that the marginal social cost is much higher than the marginal private cost. Therefore, society is having the effects more than the individuals are who are causing it or on their own. So it's basically saying if the government start to intervene, then they can start to reduce the social cost that's burdening on society. The second graph I draw is the incidence of tax, which is on your screen now. You can look at more graphs like this on Google Images, and basically what it shows is that by government intervention and by implementing a tax, it basically reduces the supply of the good. So in this case it's a negative externality, so by reducing the supply it's actually better and increases welfare. Similar to analysts, you have to also do a chain of reasoning with the diagram. So for example, on the incidence of tax diagram, it reduces supply. So what are the consequences of this? Well, we could say that by decreasing the supply, it could fundamentally cause a shortage of these rare earth metals, which are commonly used in cars, which could then lead to an increase in unemployment on the car market. Now that you've done a large chunk of your essay, you should be evaluating it. Basically what that means is that you say statements such as the extent to which this will happen will depend on. So for example, going back to my chain of reasoning where I said that a decrease in the supply will lead to a an increase in unemployment in the car industry, obviously that'll depend on if these metals are used so frequently in the future in so many cars. Because if demand for that metal decreases in the car, then it's not going to have much effect. Lastly, you should be concluding your view in your conclusion, listing reasons for and against, why you think that, and reasons where the outcome will be most significant, least significant, and do a chain of reasoning, because the more chain of reasoning you do, it'll probably result in a higher mark.